Senator, thank you so much for coming on the program tonight. Always a pleasure getting a chance to talk with you.
Cam, I'm glad to be with you, and thank you for your fine coverage of Fast and Furious and my investigation of it.
Oh, absolutely. And you point out today, and I'm so glad that you did, you pointed out that this new report out by your colleagues, Senator Feinstein and Senator Schumer and Senator Whitehouse, based on this information provided by Acting ATF Director Ken Melson, that says 70% of the firearms recovered in Mexico and submitted for tracing in the United States come from the U.S. You call this a distraction. You say this was meant to distract from the House oversight hearings on Fast and Furious, and you take great issue with that 70% figure as well.
This is the second time that ATF has cooked the books on these numbers. The first one, we don't have any doubt about their being wrong, because on their own volition, they downgraded the percentage from 90% to 70%. Now, I'm going to, it's not going to be easy to get them to admit that they're cooking the books this time, but these are the facts. I said originally, on a previous occasion, they downgraded their estimation from 90 to 70% when they were proved to be wrong. I'm going to downgrade their percentage from 70% to 22% 2 years ago to 34% last year. And let me tell you how I arrive at that. And I arrive at that from information that we received from the State Department that tells very clearly that a lot of the guns that Americans are getting credited with delivering to Mexico have come from sales that are not done through licensed dealers. Guns that the United States manufactures and are sent to other countries for military purposes, and then guns that are sold overseas just for other reasons. And when you subtract those guns from the 70%, you get the 34 and the 22% I just gave you. So once again, this ATF is cooking the books, and I hope they got guts enough to, turn off the burner and give us an honest figure.
Absolutely. And, and it's fascinating that you say you were able to get this information not from ATF or DOJ, but from the State Department. As a matter of fact, you sent a letter to Acting ATF Director Ken Melson documenting where those numbers came from. And it sounds like there was a very interesting unclassified memo that was released. What was this, back in 2010 when this memo was written?
Let's see. Was it 20? Yeah, it was 2010. But let me give you an additional source of information for our basis of saying cooking the books. It is very much based upon the government-based memo that we get that entirely refutes it, but also you can get some of the same information from the ATF's own database.
So even the ATF's own numbers don't match up to this report.
Well, I guess wouldn't they admit that? They've at least admitted that once when they downgraded a previous report from the horrific high percentage of 90% coming across the border from gun dealers in the United States down to 70%.
Yeah.
But you understand the purpose, don't you, of the release last week? It was to take attention away from ISA hearing and my testimony.
Absolutely.
And more importantly, the testimony of ATF employees themselves.
I absolutely think that was the case, and I think that in fact, I want to ask you, Senator, because we saw obviously the gun control groups jump on that 70% figure in a way, you could say aiding and abetting the administration in their attempt to distract from the hearings. Do you think that there is this a purposeful intent to diminish the importance of Fast and Furious, and at the same time call for more gun control laws, more regulations on legal gun owners? I mean, is that part of the distraction?
I think the distraction would be more on the latter than on the former.
Yeah.
But the former would play a role in it, I think.
Because it's just amazing to me. The Washington Post story, for instance, that came out today. Washington Post finally decides to cover Fast and Furious, but their coverage is, well,
distraction.
Yeah, absolutely. They say Congressman Issa was briefed on Fast and Furious last year, which I guess now, does that mean that the administration's position is Congress knew about this, but the Department of Justice didn't?
The answer, well, at least the message is that Congress knew about it, and there's a certain intellectual dishonesty on the part of Congressman Issa in having the hearing. But, you know, it is just a distraction. I could have been briefed on the same thing. I wasn't. But let's say I was briefed on it. I could tell you that maybe if you just had a 2-minute briefing and they tell you something about this idea of theirs, you might say, well, yeah, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Go ahead and do it, or keep quiet and let them assume that we want to do it. But, you know, then when you start hearing from the grassroots of Arizona, what we hear from the whistleblowers and what we've heard in email from gun dealers, and the prophecy of Terry's murder becomes true, anybody would wake up and say whatever cursory approval or silence was determined to be approval of something that the ATF tells you a year ago. You know, the reality is that you wake up pretty fast and you make a quick judgment, or maybe you didn't make a judgment at all. They just assume so.
Yeah.
The whole purpose is distraction from the truth, because, you know, these people are stonewalling us, and I tell people, you know, you can stonewall and you can stonewall, but the point is, the longer you stonewall, the truth's going to come out in our society, and when it comes out, you're going to have more egg in your face than if you come forthright to begin with.
Absolutely. Now, I got to ask you about something that was attached to this memo written by the State Department July 2nd, 2010. In your letter to acting ATF Director Ken Melson, you point out that the email that you received had another email attached to it from Bill Newell, who was the special agent in charge down there in Phoenix. And it said, quote, he's discussing the fact that this memo contains sections like myth, an iron highway of weapons flows from the U.S. Myth, the drug trafficking organizations are mostly responsible. Myth, Mexico methodically registers and tracks weapons. He says, quote, I could go on and on, but once our Fast and Furious case breaks, it will change this. Any idea what he was talking about, Senator?
Well, I'm not sure I know for sure, but I assume that what he's saying is that the motive behind Fast and Furious was to set the stage for stronger gun control laws.
I mean, was the ATF creating an iron pipeline? I mean, if you have the State Department saying it's a myth that there's an iron pipeline of weapons flowing from the U.S., and he says Fast and Furious will change all that.
No, I can't say that's not their motive, but
Yeah?
I don't have enough information to confirm it. But, you know, when you start dealing with bureaucrats like we're dealing with and stonewalling and everything, you wonder what they're trying to cover up. And that might be something they're trying to cover up, because the worst thing for the liberal elements and the anti-gun elements in this country would be to have some sort of conspiracy like this to bring more gun control. It would make them less credible. You want to remember that ATF wanted to use this case to convince people that our country was the problem and that there wasn't a problem in Central America or Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and yet yesterday I just saw news stories. The president of El Salvador, speaking in Mexico, talked about the Zeta cartels using the El Salvadoran military to gain access to guns. In Guatemala yesterday, another news story out about the Zeta cartel moving into that country and setting up shop, trying to get a hold of guns through the Guatemalan military. So all the evidence is out there that Mexico's southern border is where a lot of these firearms are coming in. And yet, politically, I don't think it benefits Felipe Calderon to acknowledge that. I don't think it benefits the Obama administration to acknowledge that. The only people who benefit from that acknowledgement are those who want to get to the bottom of this. We want to find out what the honest answers are.
Well, I can't say any more than I agree with you.
Well, Senator, listen, please keep up the investigation. Please keep doing what you're doing. We need a light to be shined brightly on Fast and Furious, and I appreciate what you're doing on behalf of, frankly, Americans, Mexican citizens who want to live safely without the threat of the cartel violence hanging over their heads. And thank you for coming on the program today. I look forward to doing this soon.
Well, don't you think I have a reputation for not giving up?
I think that you do, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Iowa Senator Chuck Grassley joining us here tonight on NRAnews.com and Sirius XM Patriot.